Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I'm thrilled to have Tal Raizer here from Florida, where it's Tuesday, 7 p.m. and it's Wednesday morning here. I don't know why I tell, but I have to seem to tell everyone where someone's from, the time difference. It's kind of funny. So you're in the past, I'm in the future, and
Yes.
welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. Looking forward to getting into I will say, a rejuvenating conversation today because you're the founder and CEO of Plasma Med Spa, which is a leading aesthetics and wellness practice. We all need a bit more of that. Focused on helping the clients feel confident, rejuvenated, and aligned from the inside out. And I think it's just so important in today's, just like kind of the speed of everything and just the busyness, even though I hate that word, that we take the time out to, look after ourselves. And you've got a background in business development and entrepreneurship, and you've built Plasma Med Spa into a trusted destination for innovative treatments that integrate cutting edge science with compassionate care. Love that piece too, the cutting edge science, but also ensuring you've got that compassionate care. And from what I understand, your leadership philosophy is grounded in this resilience, consistency, and determination. Your values that have shaped both your entrepreneurial journey and the growth of your company. Tell me, how did this all begin? How did you become an entrepreneur? How did you come to be, in Plasma Med Spa? What was the journey?
Yeah, so in the United States, I'm a nurse practitioner. Most of my background in nursing was actually in emergency room nursing and ICU nursing. And when I got my master's and then my doctorate, I went into orthopedic surgery. I did that for about 9 years. And to be honest, I had a coworker of mine that for 5 years told me that I should open up a med spa. And I always kind of laughed it off. And I said, what do I know about opening up a med spa or owning my own business? I do have a degree in economics, but I never thought that that would lead me to own my own business. And one day I had a nurse practitioner student come and shadow me, and she told me, yeah, my husband keeps telling me that I should open up a med spa. And I said, oh, that's so funny. This girl that I sit next to at work every day tells me that I should open up a med spa. And I don't know, she said, "Oh, do you want to look into it?" I didn't know this girl. I just met her. And I said, "Okay, sounds good." I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? Yeah, so we just kind of looked into it. I mean, a few months later, she told me she was actually moving out of the area. But I was already kind of in the rabbit hole of like
Yeah.
opening up my own business. And yeah, I mean, do I have like a good reason as to why I opened up the med spa? I wanted it since I was like a kid. No, I don't have that. But I've really fallen in love with what I do. And now, one of the things that I will say is that I struggle a little bit with, I guess the vanity aspect of, injectables and all that stuff, just because I'm raising two little girls. But I realize that women, especially women, right? Like we have social pressure to look a certain way, but then when we try to look that way or when we want to look that way, we're judged. So there's really no winning for women. So I really have kind of embraced that aspect of my business and just kind of letting people feel comfortable and wanting what they want, obviously ethically, right, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And just kind of accepting the fact that, they're able to do these things and that it helps them with their self-confidence and overall wellness. I mean, there's lots of studies that show that feeling confident helps with your performance, with your anxiety, depression, things like that. So I really look at it as like a whole encompassing treatment of the person.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because there was such a big, kind of negative thing around, like you say, like doing things to yourself and, not looking natural. And there still is, but there's this whole piece,
Mhm.
like you say, around this confidence and, like if the stats are there to prove that it can help with stress, it can help well, mental health, all that sort of thing. Like
Mhm.
what we're seeing more and more of and the innovation around, the techniques that are coming out. it feels like to me it's only just getting started. Like as much as it's been around, the med spa's been around for so long. You know, you think about when you used to just be getting your feet or your hands, like getting like
Mhm.
a, treatment that way. But like what is coming in now? Question for you. Were you an orthopedic surgeon for 9 years? Is that what you were doing or
Not a surgeon, no. So, in the United States, we have nurse practitioners. I don't know what they have in Australia, but so you can become a nurse and then what's called a nurse practitioner, which is like a master's degree. I have a doctorate as a nurse practitioner. So, at least where I practice, I can do everything that a doctor does except for surgery.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but I did go into the operating room with the surgeon that I worked with, but I was not performing the surgery.
Okay, because I was kind of when you said to me, the surgeon said to you, you should get into med spa. I'm like, oh my God. So he must have been watching you. Oh, I had a vision of you doing a surgical procedure and him watching you going, you're so
No.
precise. But
Ah,
but how do, like
so
do,
I
yeah.
so I did like most of the injections in orthopedic surgery. So mostly joint injections, so knees, shoulders, ankles, muscles,
Uh,
ligaments, tendons, things like that. And I was precise, so maybe that's
Yeah, because
why.
it's just a really interesting. I was trying to like get the connection there of like where it came from. And so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about so you see it as more of a wellness and then you talked around you've got two young daughters, but that's kind of like putting it into perspective what this is about. Do you get a lot of women coming in who are lacking complete and utter confidence, not liking how they look, and like how do you work with that? Like how do you because there's also this kind of piece for me that you can do all the things right to make someone look and feel better, but like ultimately it comes from them wanting them liking themselves and feeling good about themselves. So yes, it's aesthetics, but like do you have actual conversations with them about this sort of thing as well? Because you'd probably end up doing a little bit of, dare I say it, therapy type
Yeah.
conversations when they come in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and that's why I think it's important, to have good consultations with patients, right? Because part of it is really understanding what their goals are, but also helping them understand what's possible and also helping them understand that, and a lot I think of what I do is teaching people about anti-aging, right? We're not
Yeah.
necessarily changing the way that someone is looking, but I always tell people, okay, well, if you're gonna own your home for 20 years, would you feel weird about painting it? And a lot of people will say no, right? So I kind of equate that to how we treat ourselves in the sense of like aesthetics and wellness, right? We go to the gym to continue to build muscle. As we age, we lose muscle mass, and so we have to do extra things to build muscle. It's the same things with our face, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so kind of getting them to understand that it's okay for them to want, to look better or feel better. It's okay that, they look in the mirror and they're concerned about their wrinkles or, their skin. And also kind of teaching them. And again, I think a part of it is like positive reinforcement and just like identifying with them and empathizing, right? Like I also look in the mirror and I have access to all these treatments, right? Like, but I also look in the mirror every day and I'm like, oh, well, maybe like, right? Like, so. But also teaching them to have grace for themselves because no one is 100% symmetrical, no one is 100%
Perfect.
perfect, right? Like we're not trying to achieve perfection. We're just trying to feel confident in our own skin. And so but it's very powerful to feel confident in your own skin, right? It's like to not think, right? To go somewhere and not think like, oh, do I look bad in this dress? Are my arms too big? Like, do I need to suck in my stomach? Like all these thoughts that kind of permeate just our day to day. I think it's just a really powerful tool, to teach people one, to help them feel more confident, but two, to teach them to kind of have grace for themselves. So,
Yeah, I love the grace.
um,
I love that grace piece as well. I mean, COVID took us all on a journey, didn't it? Like you couldn't like for
yeah.
especially for females, like the we were in the world's longest lockdown, so like but not being able to go to your
Yeah.
hairdresser, have anything that you needed kind of worked on from a treatment perspective or whatever, and you're looking at yourself every day in the mirror. It really just kind of you had to really get your head around, like yeah, it was for me, it was like just some days I'd just be like, I don't know, I can't even look at myself. And the amount of people I spoke to had that same feeling. And when you have that, it does mess with your confidence. And I don't know, I don't think that's coming from a place of ego either. I think it's just, when you feel confident, you want to look your best and you feel your best, right? When you don't feel confident, it's almost like there's sometimes this no hope sort of. So it's kind of like what does that look like from a confidence perspective for you? Because I think when you're right, when you are confident, it's like you're projecting this, I don't know, it's almost like you're illuminated,
Yeah.
you feel like you can take on anything and achieve anything that, it's what's possible, it's anything is possible.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
tell
I totally I agree. I just wanted to say that I think, and that looks different for every single person.
yes,
And so that's why specifically when I do consultations, I don't say, oh, well, you should do this, this, and this, and this, right? I let that be patient led because,
yeah,
right, like they might not care that they have wrinkles on their forehead,
yeah,
right? So like,
100%.
and then I point it out and then they're mad about it. So yeah, so so I think again that is different for everyone.
Everybody.
Everyone cares about something else, and no concern, in my opinion, is wrong, right? So
No, I love that. I know that's the care piece for me. Are you seeing more and more that men are just as kind of, coming to you as much as women these days? Like is it diverse? Like for so long it was, because you just don't hear about men, necessarily having treatments. And then, I had a friend recently said he said to me, and I'm like, cool. Like, and we were just chatting, like, and I think he was quite happy that I was just like, we were just chatting about it. Like it was no big deal. Like it was just like, okay, yeah, like but it was like he wanted to talk about it, but like to talk about it with his mates, I don't know whether that's just an
yeah.
Australian thing or yeah.
No, I mean, I think men are becoming more accustomed to doing, these types of treatments. Would I say that I get as many men as I do women? No. There's definitely like different concerns that I see men for, like more like, because I still do like plasma injections, for example, for tendon, joint, muscle pain. So the majority of my male patients are for that, hair loss, some for Botox. I also treat sexual dysfunction with plasma, so I do see men for that. Yeah, but I think they're still less confident in the sense of like sharing with their friends, or being open about the types of treatments that they get. But you know what? I also see that in a lot of my female patients, right? Yeah, they're like, oh no, I don't want anyone to know that I'm here. My spouse doesn't know, my friends don't know, which is fine, right? To each their own. But I do think there's something really powerful in being open about like what you do, just because, right, like that sets the standard, right? If we have these standards for beauty, that are unattainable without assistance, right? I think that's where mental health kind of gets into, depression, anxiety, social media, right? Like all these things. So I do hope that as time goes on, and I think it's happening more and more, like a lot of celebrities are now sharing, like, oh, I had this done, I had this surgery, this facelift, this is my surgeon, stuff like that, which is really powerful because then, especially little girls, and again, I always think back to my little girls, just thinking that that's natural with no extra help is dangerous. So,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like, how do we normalize it more? Like, I've always been very open about it. Whenever someone said, "Oh, you look really good," I'm like, "Yeah, I just had some injectables, or whatever." I'm just like,
yeah,
well, what you see is what you get. Like, why would I hide it? Like, for me,
yeah,
I've always been completely open, and I've even had people say, "B, you don't need to tell them," and I'm like, "Why not?" Like,
hmm,
because it is anti-aging for me, and it's also like. otherwise we're creating this perception that you always look this perfect, you never age, you never, but you do. Ultimately you do.
Yes,
Like you say, like
exactly.
as you get older. And I think for younger girls, I've got three nieces, a goddaughter, like it's all, I think that we're setting standards that are so unattainable if we're not careful. So how do we set those standards? So let's switch to the business in terms of and the daughters and the juggle, because I've been having a bit of that conversation with various, high performing women who have their own business, and can you do it all? Can you have your own business, have two young daughters? I don't believe in work-life balance. I just don't. I think that it's a work-life flow. It's all integrated and you flow through it, you work through it. How do you juggle it? Like, yeah.
That is the $1 million question, right? Um, yeah, so I opened my business only like a year and 5 months
Oh wow.
ago.
It's new.
Yeah, it's pretty new. I mean, I've been opening it for over 2 years. But it's actually been open and like making money for a year and 5 months.
I get that.
Yeah, so I also work another job. I'm a professor at a university because my business does not currently pay me. So that is how I have income. So it's hard. It's really hard. I don't have time off really. Like from the time I wake up, I'm either taking care of my kids, making them food, putting them to sleep, working. And then after they go to sleep, I keep working and then I do it all over again. I work on the weekends. But the thing is, and this is my first business, so it's my first time working for myself. This is the best, hands down, best job I've ever had. I'm enjoying, I'm going to say 99% of it because there are days that I cry and think that I want to quit.
Don't we all?
But
Hey, I'm the same.
yeah,
I was having a moment last night going, this is too hard. Like at 11, I'm
yeah,
like on my laptop going, like something that was saying to me is just give up, just quit. And I'm like, no. Like, and then I've woken up this morning,
yeah,
I'm okay.
yeah. I know, such
Yeah.
highs and lows.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying it, and even I would say like I think one of the strategies that really helps me to continue is looking at my failures not as failures, but as learning opportunities, right? And just the growth that I've had from the moment that I opened my business. I think like now I'm convinced, and I'm not joking, I could go into any corporate like job and be amazing at it. Just because of everything I've gone through being an entrepreneur, right? Like the decisions you have to make, the mistakes you make, like like the learning curve is just huge. And I'm just very thankful. But I keep telling my husband that um, it's like this has to work because I'm never going to work for someone else again. So,
I'm with you. Like it's like, and I was saying this to someone I was on a call with earlier this morning, and I said to him, I'm like this comes back to your response to my question around this consistency and determination, right? Like I
Mhm.
think if you're determined and this has to work, you will make it work. And that's that kind of resilience, or what I call anti-fragile, where you're not just bouncing back, but you're like, you learn from your mistake or your failure. And then it's like, okay, how do I take that forward with me? How do I bounce forward? And I think
Mhm.
that there's a real grit in there as well around, because I'm exactly the same as you. This has to work. Like I will make this work. I will pivot. I
Mhm.
will, do whatever it
Mhm.
takes. I shouldn't say just whatever it takes, as I think at the end of it,
Right.
like we do need to make sure that we're finding those pockets or those micro moments to be able to actively recover and, get
Mhm.
our own rejuvenation, because otherwise we're useless in the business, we're useless to our clients. And so
Yeah,
it's that
I
is
totally agree.
that's the juggle, isn't it? That's finding those. And also I think for me, when you are so determined, and that consistency piece, sometimes the determination can actually just like, it's like you need to have a break, you need to stop. And that's what happened last night. I
Yeah.
was just pushing myself, and then in the end I was like, I'm not getting anywhere. And then bang, something stuffed up, not in a major way, but I was just like, oh yeah, that's just telling me that it's enough, like go to bed. you know.
Yeah.
So we all have these things where we practice, we say, oh, we're doing it this way and it's all going to work really well. And having your own business is, you've got all this flexibility and freedom, which you do to a degree because you're not answering to anybody.
Yeah.
But then
But there's really no flexibility because you're working all the time.
well, yeah, because you're building and growing, and
Yeah.
that takes a lot of yeah, and the hard part, like yeah, I agree. Like then you're trying to make sure that you've got the income coming in to be able to
Hmm.
support you whilst you're building.
Yeah.
So you're working
That's
to
what I keep saying. I need to survive until my business can take off. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm taking my first week off next week and I'm terrified to do that. So,
Really, are you going anywhere nice?
well, yes. So my husband is an ultra marathoner. He's running the Mount Kilimanjaro 75-kilometer trail run.
Oh,
So I'm going to Tanzania.
how cool. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a challenge trying learning, like understanding, well, can you switch off? Can you not? But like what
yeah,
could possibly go wrong? Like this is what I kind of think about. We create so much in our minds where it's like, oh my God, I've got to do this, this, this. And I used to do this all the time back in the previous business where I would work myself to the ground like literally the day before I was going. And then by the time I got to the holiday, I was just like, or I was still doing stuff and I was exhausted.
yeah.
And it took me days to get like relaxed.
Relax.
And now
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, sometimes we've just got to trust the unknown a little bit and be like, okay,
yeah,
it's going to work.
yeah.
Do
It's not
you
a life or death situation.
know? And I think it's also about reminding ourselves that, we talk to you talk to clients about this grace, giving yourself some grace. So how do you give your own self some grace, right? Like,
True. I have
yeah,
to practice what I preach.
yeah. So the 99, so you said there's 99% you love. What's the 1% you find the most challenging?
Marketing. Yeah. I assumed, and again, right, naive business owner, I was like, oh, I'm good at my job. People will show up. They do not.
I know,
They
like,
do
yeah,
not.
I'm listening to this just like kind of like smiling away because I think again, like coming back to med spa and well, plasma med spa, I should say, and the fact that, we have all these like it's never what it seems in terms of like you were talking before around, well, how do we normalize, like that we're doing things to make to prevent for anti-aging, etc.
Mhm.
It's like all this shiny stuff you see from a marketing brand perspective out there, and you're probably looking at a lot of different med spas going, oh my God, they're killing it, they're doing this, they're doing that. And yet then there's this actual reality, which is no, they're not like, but yet what we're seeing, externally versus on the inside. And I think we need to normalize that a lot more as well when it comes to building your own business also, because there's so much that is not on a face value, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, and that's the thing that I would say. I am very thankful to myself because when I started my business, right, like when you start your business, you have to convince people to trust you, right? Like that's what you're doing. So, and in order to do that, a lot of businesses will give lots of discounts, which like I don't mind doing, right? Because a lot of people will say, "Oh, it's a good price. I'll go try it out," right? And I don't mind giving discounts. And I use this example in another podcast interview that I did a few weeks ago. I had a patient who called me for a procedure and asked for price, and I gave them the price. And they said, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, let's book it." And I'm like starting to book it, and they're like, "Oh, but please, like, can you do it for like 20% off?" And I was and so like again, I don't mind giving discounts. That's not the issue, but like at the end of the day, I also have to value myself, right? Like I have to value my education. I have to value my hard work, and the money that I spent on this business. And I said no, even though at the time, like right, they were always like, oh, well, something is better than nothing. But to me, I was thinking, okay, but if I keep taking these somethings, right, that's going to be the standard. And I
I
don't
love
want that to be
that.
the standard. So, and funny enough, that patient a year later called me, came and did the procedure without a discount. So not that that happens a lot, right? That's like the only time that's ever happened. But I was just like, when that happened, I said, wow, I'm so happy that I trusted my gut and I said no. Yeah, so really, I guess just kind of like learning, to value your time, but also, right, you have to strike a balance between marketing yourself, offering promotional offers, and really setting a standard for your business. Like when you're establishing your brand, that's part of it, right? Like I can't be known as the lady who gives like 50% off all the time.
No,
So
and I think I love what you're talking, you've shared so many great insights, right? Like this confidence piece, giving yourself grace, even what we're talking about from like your own business. And I absolutely believe it because we can come from a place of lack, but we're only going to attract lack, right? And then,
yeah,
and so then how do you are like you look at everything you've achieved, like, you've got a doctorate, you've everything, like, and you're a professor at a university, like there's so much that you and I have to check myself at times too, where it's like you can come across desperate. So it's like I value my worth, and when I get the feeling that when you're with a client, you are with a client, and you give them the world's class best treatments. I give my clients world class best service. I'm with them.
Mhm.
I will do the transformation, whatever it is. And so you have to value your self-worth. And it's being prepared to sometimes almost like drop the mic, walk away. And
Yes,
and it's
so
like
hard.
and it's so hard because you're like, oh my
Yes,
God, then you go into this rabbit hole of maybe that's it, I'm not going to pick up another client. And then all of a sudden,
yeah,
I truly believe sometimes when we close those doors, bigger, better opportunities open up for ourselves, but also sometimes they come back. But they come back when they're ready, not because they weren't ready. And it's like
yeah.
so it's for me that's really important in business. And again, the stuff we're talking about, we don't talk about this enough. And this is the sort of thing we need to talk about because I constantly see from a marketing perspective, I can give you to this for such and such. It's a discount of, but I'm like, really, like, like when we're doing a disservice to a lot of people when we're, offering those sorts of deals or,
Hmm.
it's kind of that, I call it, dodgy sales kind of pitches where
Yeah,
where
I
it's like,
agree.
so this comes back to your values piece, right? Like in ensuring that how do you ensure you've got those values in terms of who you're
Hmm.
working with and then from a business perspective. I've got a couple of last questions for you.
Sure.
Innovative treatments. Like we're in this crazy world where it is rapidly changing. AI is just going gangbusters nuts. And it's
Mhm.
kind of like, so are you seeing a lot of, you must be all over the innovation and the treatments coming through. Like how far do you think it's going to go? Like, do you see it like more and more innovation coming through in the med spa space?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think there's a lot of advancement. Where I am in the United States, we have the FDA, so a lot of treatments. I only do FDA approved treatments in my office, just because that's how I protect my license. But there are lots of things, right, like stem cells, exosomes, peptides, like all these like research um, procedures that are still kind of up and coming. And I think that, there's definitely a lot of space for that because people want like more natural treatments. They want something, that doesn't have a lot of, chemicals, and really just to age more naturally, I guess. So yeah, I definitely think there's like it's a booming industry and there's a lot that's going to be coming. I'm not an early adopter of these procedures, again, just because I like to sleep well at night and protect my license. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like to look at the trends and the research and what's coming and make sure that people who are leaders in this industry in the United States are recommending it and things like that. And I think it's exciting because, like Botox and fillers have been around for a long time. They work phenomenal. But if there's things that are better, right? Like who's going to say no to that? So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then last question, you've got two young daughters. You clearly absolutely love like unconditionally, immensely, of course.
Yeah.
What's your what's your hope for them in terms of, and I guess for like all the because how old are they?
5 and 8.
5 and 8. So with all
Yeah.
yours, like what's your hope for them and what's your hope for girls that age as they, come into more, getting older, etc. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think at least for my girls, I want them to grow up and yeah, I think when I was growing up, I put a lot of emphasis on my career, my education, like that's what I measured as success, right? Like, oh, if I get a master's or if I get my degree from Johns Hopkins, which is where I went to nursing school, then, right, like then I'll be like successful or,
Yeah.
like all these things. And now I think as an adult with 2 kids, I don't really see it that way, right? Like I think it's more about being fulfilled by what you do, having enough money to not be stressed about, how you're going to pay your bills, traveling, and really having, like a good support system, good family, good friends. So that's really what I hope for them. I don't really care if they want to take over the med spa or anything. So,
I love
yeah, I just want them to have like a life where they are enjoying, what they're doing and they have good friends and family around them. That's really all I want for them.
Oh, it's so, so beautiful. And last question, what does Plasma Med Spa look like in 12 months' time for you?
I want to pay myself.
It's a good goal. It's a great goal.
Yeah, that's my goal. Yeah, no, I'm getting a laser next month, so
That's
I'm
exciting.
excited about that. I'm bringing on a new vertical. And yeah, I want to hire. I have someone part-time now for as a patient care coordinator. I would like to have someone full-time. Yeah, I don't know that I'm really like measuring my success financially, right? Like I want to grow my brand and my business. But I don't like I'm not going to tell you I'm going to be making like X amount of dollars in
No.
12 months or but yeah. Oh, I want 200 5-star Google reviews. I do want
Well,
that.
oh, I do love that. And I also think
Yeah.
that it's about you growing as well. Like, like you are
Yeah.
going through the biggest growth. Like, I think as an entrepreneur, it is not for the faint-hearted. And
No.
I am not the same person I was a couple of years ago. And I know that through this whole experience, I am a better person for it. And, giving yourself that grace, that ability to be able to, yeah, like go through the darkest of dark days at times to then like be able to get up the next day and go, today's a brand new day, I think takes a
Mhm.
lot, to then just not quit and go, you know what, I'm just going to go back to like, it's not for everybody, this whole entrepreneurship. So like, I think it's that inner growth as well.
Yeah.
Tell how,
Yeah, it's like mental strength, right? Like we're working out
yeah.
our mental strength.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're working out
Yeah.
what's really got like who we really are as people, right? Tell us
Yes.
how do we find out more about your business? How do we find out more about you?
Yeah, so my website is plasmamedspa.com. On socials, we're at Plasma Med Spa. My email is contact@plasmamedspa.com. I'm always happy to chat. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Tal. You've been
Thank you.
given some great advice, and yeah, I love it. And I wish you utmost success and happiness and the
Thank
ability
you.
to be able to, an opportunity potentially, I won't say challenges to, even if it's just switching off for a day when you're in Tanzania. It's so
Oh,
beautiful.
that would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you'll just, and it gives you that fresh perspective. You'll get all these ideas rushing
Yeah.
through. Like if you could just switch off for a day, imagine what might be possible for you to be able to just let the intuition and the ideas flow. So
Yes, that would be
I,
lovely. Thank you
I,
so much.
I hope you get to do that. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening and thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.